Hello again to Randolph Communications MyTV 1 viewers. It's good to be here again. I'm Tim Moody. I'm the Public Information Officer with the Randolph County School System. I'm here with our superintendent, Dr. Gainey. Each month we get out before the community and we share with you some of the great things that are going on in our school system. If you've been following us, you know that for the past few months we've been actually getting out into the schools. Today we're happy to be here at Trinity Elementary School and give a little shout out to Principal Tim Moody and her staff for allowing us to be here today and share with you some of the great things that are happening. And Dr. Gainey, we had something in our last interview, a big highlight, the Uwharrie project that we discussed, but at that time there was still an action item that had to take place, and that was a meeting with the county commissioners, which was Monday, February the 6th. So I think our community might be interested in getting an update on that.
Well, Tim, we first introduced the Uwharrie School project to our Board of Education in December at the December board meeting. And then on January 17th, the snow delayed our January board meeting by a week. And so January 17th, we presented it again to our board and shared it with the county commissioners. The county commissioners came over during our work session and we talked about some budget needs for the 17-18 school year. And that night, our board actually approved it as an action item and said, we're ready to go forward with the Uwharrie School project for next year, which will involve converting Uwharrie Middle School from a 6-8 school to a 6-12 school with 3 schools of study, public service, technology and design, and also leadership and communication. It's going to be a 1-to-1 technology school. And what was exciting is on January 17th, between the board and the commissioners, there seemed to be a high level of interest in that idea and that initiative. And so then we were asked to come present at the February 6th Board of Commissioner meeting. And we asked for $410,000 to fund this project to get it going. And the county commissioners went ahead on February 6th and approved it for 17-18. Instead of waiting until June, they want us to have assurance of the funding. And so last week on February 6th was a huge night for the school system to see their support and get that support financially now instead of waiting until June. Really a shot in the arm for our school system.
And so Dr. Gainey, I know we also have some parent nights that are scheduled to educate the community about the Uwharrie project. So tell us a little bit about those.
Well, Tim, we have parent nights scheduled, and it goes back to the support that the Board of Education and commissioners have given to this project so early that now we can really talk definitively with parents. So we had one last week, the week of February 6th through 10. I want to say it was February 8th, but I'm not sure if that's the right date. But it was during that week where we met with all the current students or parents at Uwharrie Middle who wanted to know more about the project and whether their children would want to stay there for high school years. We've also got a parent night scheduled for essentially the 4 elementary schools that are in the southwest zone. So Farmer Elementary, there's a parent night at Tabernacle Elementary, one at Southmont Elementary and Seagrove Elementary, just to let these rising 6th grade parents know more about what's going on, because this project, whereas we're adding grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 to that school site, the whole concept of the program being put in place will also encompass grades 6, 7, and 8 with the 1-to-1 technology, the schools of study, and trying to gear curriculum standards to be taught through the lenses of those schools of study. So we wanted to get to the elementary parents as well and let them know this exciting experience that's there for their children. And then we have one more parent night at the end. It's kind of for anybody who missed a parent night at one of the other settings. And I think that one's scheduled back for Uwharrie Middle School. But just excited to see people smiling, excited about this special project. And I just think the sky's the limit for the results of this project down the road for this school system.
So we have some exciting events coming up involving our students over the next few weeks, one of which is the Youth Art Month exhibit. We do this each year. It's at the Randolph Arts Guild. There's actually a reception to kick off that event, which is March the 8th, and then the exhibit will take place from March the 8th through the 27th. And this is always an exciting time because our students get to display some of their work. So talk about that if you would.
Well, Tim, that will be a great event. You get to see the talents of all the children when their artwork's on display, and you get to see, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, you get to see just how talented these children are. And it makes you wonder, as you move forward, what do they be doing when they're adults and they've chosen areas of work. And it just gives you real hope for the future when you see the great work of these children, the great imagination of these children, on display that day. You know that we have a lot of talented kids in this arena, and just an exciting event to attend. And I'm always blown away by what I see, and I'm thinking, wow, this is elementary children that have done this, or high school kids or middle school kids. It just looks so professional when you see their artwork. So it'll be an exciting event to attend.
Well, and staying on the subject of the arts and also talented students, we have an annual event. It's the All-County Band Concert. That involves not only our band students, but Asheboro City Schools as well. That's on February the 24th at Asheboro High School. So tell us a little bit about that event.
Well, just kind of like the arts display exhibit that we were talking about, when you go to these events, you realize the performing arts and the visual arts are alive and well in the school system and in this county, because Asheboro City Schools has great arts programs as well. But when you go to that all-county band performance and you hear the music produced, just like the all-county chorus performance, you hear the music produced, and you just kind of have to pinch yourself every now and then and think, these aren't professionals, these are students, but this is where our professional performers come from, is from our student body down the road. They have an interest, and some of them continue to develop those interests, and next thing you know, they're musicians, and that's what they do for a living moving forward when they leave school. But that'll be another great event, another great display of the numerous talents of children in this school system and in this county as a whole when we go to the all-county band concert.
I know one of the things that you really enjoy doing is when you get a chance to get out into the elementary schools and read to students. And of course, we've talked before about our Leadership Reads program, in which you and some others on the leadership team get out to the schools and read. But we also have even a bigger event, reading event, on March the 2nd. It's Read Across America. Of course, it's celebrated nationwide. And not only you and our leadership team, but our board members and directors and community members will in fact be going out into some schools and reading on that day. So that's another big day for us.
It is, and you and I were talking the other day about how our slots are full of volunteers. So I think that speaks volumes for our community and their interest in being involved in our school programs. But it is just a great time to get in the classroom with the children. Every time I go to a classroom, I'm still amazed at what the children are thinking when you're reading to them, and it also puts you back in the environment, and it helps keep me grounded of the challenges that teachers face every day as they're trying to do what they can to help children develop educationally and also as a complete high character individual from the school side. And so it's just exciting to be in that classroom setting with the children, and their questions are always very interesting, but hearing what they're thinking about is probably the most intriguing piece to me. And I wouldn't have it any other way other than visiting schools. So yeah, March the 2nd is going to be a big day, but March the 2nd it's exciting, but so are all those other days when I get to go to classrooms, and I just appreciate the teachers letting me visit their classrooms and read to their children.
So Dr. Gainey, I know you had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak to a very special group of students, and that was Randolph Sports Council Sportsmanship Award winners. It's an annual event, or maybe even a couple times a year at Snyder Farms Restaurant, and you got to speak to the group, so talk about that.
Well, Tim, I was asked to speak about sportsmanship, and there's 3 events a year, and they honor kids for different things, and the one in January is sportsmanship, and recognize senior athletes at each high school. In our school system in Asheboro City Schools, they get a male and a female recipient of the Sportsmanship Award, and that was special to me. And I say that because high school athletics is a lot bigger to me than I could ever put a value on what high school athletics did for me. And it wasn't just when I reached 9th grade. And as I spoke that night, I grew up in a home with a high school principal and a high school teacher, and my whole life, from when I was 6 months old until I was 30, my father was principal of the same high school. So I grew up wanting to be a part of that school. And I can still remember those days of just loving to go to the events and looking up to those athletes who I thought were role models for me, and I viewed them as role models. And when I look back to speak about high school athletics and the true value of it, and it's not just athletics. You can take it to band, or you can take it to performing arts, and drama area. Children being connected to school it really helps them be successful and it helps mold their character and all beyond, you've got parents working with them, but those extra influences are just, you can't put a value on that. And so to get to talk about high school athletics and the idea of sportsmanship and what that meant to me, and then what I see it means to children, what it meant to me not only as an athlete, but then later as a high school principal myself, and the things I held near and dear for our athletic programs when I was a high school principal, and then even before that a high school coach. It was just a great night for me. I will, I'll tell you, I'll never forget those high school coaches that spent time with me going through school, and it wasn't just the wins. It wasn't just the wins or how they helped us deal with the losses. What I always took back with me is the high level of character of my baseball coach, Coach Smith, my football coach, Coach Sasser, my basketball coach, Coach Marsh. The high level of character they always displayed, I think, has helped me during that time as well as all through my adult life. So.
And I know you say it wasn't just about the wins, but you guys won a lot too. If I recall that you had some pretty successful teams.
We did, and I think back how many of us were really college athletes. Very few of us were, but we won. I told that night we went 41-4-1 in the 4 football teams I was on. I talked about sportsmanship. I talked about how my junior year we went 14-0. We were ranked number 1 in 3A football from August all the way to December 12th, and we got beat 9-6 in the state championship game. And one of the things I said was, yeah, we were hurt, but we dealt with that because we got beat that night. We displayed sportsmanship in a positive manner. We didn't give that game away, and those things are still near and dear to me. I can remember that night just as much as I do any other event in my life. And so, but I think it goes back to there were 3 strong, high-character individuals who led us in those sports through our high school days, and you just don't forget that. And so they never wanted us to repay them. They want us to keep moving the ball forward in the future, and that's and it's played out that way with principalships and everything else in my professional career. I never worked for a superintendent who said, "Now I'm going to be good to you or help you, but now you're going to have to pay me back." Now that's not how it was for the 3 superintendents I worked for. The expectation was very clear: take what we help you with, and you use it to help others down the road. And so I think that's where that good sportsmanship plays into the professional life.
So we had a big event last week. It was our annual Spelling Bee. Hannah Mesmer of Northeastern Randolph Middle School was our Spelling Bee champion for this year, and I know you're at that event each year, and I know it's another one of those many events on the calendar that excites all of us. So just describe what that was like.
Well, sometimes you're sitting there and you're thinking, I hope they don't ask me to spell one of those words they're asking the kids to spell. There's some words I've heard in spelling bee I'm not sure I even knew they were words. But I'm amazed at what I really enjoy is watching the children. It's important to them, and they've prepared for it, and they handle it so gracefully. And you don't ever see a child get up there and I've never seen a child really get nervous. They may be nervous inside, but I've never seen them at the microphone be nervous, and that's a credit to the teachers who work with them. But it's just a great display of preparation by the children, and they're wanting to achieve great accomplishments. And so for Hannah, congratulations. I thought one of the neatest things I saw her when they told her she had won, I don't think she had an idea. It just looked like to me she didn't know it was over. Mm-hmm. And just to watch the joy on her face was just refreshing. And so it's just exciting to see children recognized and watching them compete. This business is not about competition. You're not one school versus the other. That's what public education is about. But there is this part about trying to get better and trying to go from where you were to the next level, whether it be your reading performance, your math performance. And that's what I see with the children there. They're not as much competing against each other as they are, hey, let me see if I can get better. Let me see if I can do that next step.
Well, let's recognize a few other folks. Last week was National School Counseling Week. We put a nice video on our district homepage celebrating our school counselors. That's a group that we probably don't talk a whole lot about, maybe don't get a whole lot of recognition. So I'm just going to open that up and let you give them a shout out.
Well, there is no substitute in the public schools for a great counselor. I mean, there's no way, when you have great counselors, you know you've got great counselors. We've got them all over the school system. Counselors do things that people, they build those relationships with students, just like the teachers do, but you cannot place a value on the great counselor. And then they build over time, they keep up with the kids over time. They know when things are bothering children, they know the right thing to say to children, just like the classroom teacher. But sometimes the classroom teacher, they can't do what in that area because they've got 25 other kids sitting there. But the counselors just play a huge role. Anytime we recognize counselors, it's time well spent. And then you get them to the high school level. And I just remember from being a high school, middle school principal, but particularly as a high school principal, all of a sudden you see this relationship form between a counselor and a child. The next thing you know, the counselor has found avenues for children and found educational interests that you didn't really realize that was going on with that child as far as their thought process, but the counselor did because of the relationships they built. So I surely hope the state of North Carolina values what the school counselor does, because it'd be a big mistake if they ever thought that counselors did not play a huge role here. I've never heard anybody say that, and I surely hope nobody ever believes that, because we need counselors in schools, and to have a week to honor them, that's what better way to say thank you. And we could never, a week, when it's Teacher Appreciation Week, we could never say enough to say thank you to teachers or to, to our principals or any of our staff when we have these special weeks. But I mean, the counselors deserve it as much as anybody.
Right. A couple of other recognitions that are noteworthy. Misty Wolf is our school district's Career Technical Education Coordinator, and she received an Extra Mile Award from the Archdale Trinity Chamber. And also Roxanne Taylor, who is our Title I Parent Coordinator and ESL Program Liaison, received a Special Leadership Award from the Ashboro Chamber of Commerce. So those are two very nice awards and two very special employees. Give you a chance to speak to those two.
Well, you said the word you could put with both of them is special. They are special. What they do in their different areas and areas of responsibility is unbelievable for the school system. But what you saw in their awards is it goes beyond the school system. It goes out into the community, the high level of respect that not only does the school system have for them, but the community. And see, I think this is a partnership. It's a partnership between the students, the parents, the staff, and you can't forget the surrounding community. You can have 3 of the 4 and be okay, but you can be great if you have 4 out of 4, and that's a good indicator that they have a good connection to the surrounding community as well as our school system. So very excited for both of them. I don't think either one of them had any inkling that they were going to be recognized that night. I was sitting with Roxanne the night she got her award. I was on the other side of the room when Misty received hers, and I don't think either one of them had any idea that they were getting ready to be recognized at each of their events in front of everybody. So it was exciting, and it's always exciting to have your school system recognized with standout employees such as the 2 of them.
So Dr. Gainey, I thought it might be appropriate to sort of wrap up this interview by talking about the folks like we've got here today with Randolph Communications and our other media partners. And we do have good relationships with our partners, whether it's broadcast media or print media. How do we as a school system go about cultivating those types of relationships? I know we have our media meetings a couple of times a month, but why is our relationship with local media, why is that so important for a school district?
Well, I worked for a superintendent one time, and one of the things I learned from him watching him, it wasn't because he set me down, I was a principal under him. He didn't sit me down and say, you need to know this, this, and this. I worked for 3 great superintendents, and they all led by example. But this particular one got my attention with the media and how he dealt with the media. And his idea was, we have a story to tell. And if we don't work hard at telling our story, then somebody's going to tell their story or their version of it. And the thing you got to do with the media, in my opinion, is you have to respect what their job is. Their job is to tell the stories. And sometimes when we run into situations where the story's not always positive. But building that relationship with them is key, because they can help us. They can help us when the story is not positive. They can help us when the story is positive. And we've had 2 in the last about a month and a half now. We've had Fox 8 has been a real big partner, getting word out about a middle school, brand new middle school that we need built in the Archdale Trinity Zone, which is where we are today. They came out, we met them at Archdale Trinity Middle School, and they spent a lot of time with us. And then just last week, we were at Uwharrie Middle School. The day after the commissioners approved that project or funding for it, they wanted to do a story. So we were out at Uwharrie Middle School with Fox 8 again, and that was exciting. And then, we started school year. Was it the first day of school? We were in Fox 8 studio,
Right.
and it gave me a chance to, you know, for whoever could hear it, make sure everybody knew how excited we were about school year starting. And at that point, I got to talk about we have great students, we have great parents, great teachers, and great community. You know, so it's huge to build that relationship with the media, and they just need to know all the groups. I appreciate what they do. They have a job to do, and we do too. And understanding and respecting their job is key for us. You got to know that everything they cover may not always be positive, but that relationship's huge.
Right. And to that point, thank you to Randolph Communications and to the Courier Tribune and to Fox 8 and to News 2 and all of our other media partners. We certainly are fortunate to have our partnership with you. And thank you again for the opportunity to get out in front of you and share with you some of the great things that go on in our school system. Thank you again to Principal Kim Bowie and to Trinity Elementary School for allowing us to be here and do this interview. As I said last month, we'll be at another school next month. We don't know which one yet, but we'll be there. And we look forward to seeing you in March. Thank you so much.